So today I want to share my fishing leaderboard with you. Now, I have 3 different sizes that I use, and I did a video for the larger size, and I basically use that for my used rigs while I'm actually salmon fishing to get them somewhere safe so I don't have to worry about stepping on them and breaking them, because that happens all the time. But these smaller ones that I'm going to look at today is going to be for my new rigs. So the first thing that I do when I buy these is I will take them out of the package and I will take a box knife like this or any razor knife, and I will cut them, and I put around 6 slots in there. Now sometimes you can go a little less if you want, depending on the size of the rigs. If you're going to use large rigs, you might want to go less and space them out a little bit more, and I'll show you what I mean by that in a second here. Now I keep my brand new rigs in a simple piece of Tupperware, or in this case, it's a Sterilite container. And I keep them laid out just like that, and I will set them in here. And then as I need one, I will pull it out, unwrap it, and then I will put it on the pole and then debarb it. The last thing I always do is take the barbs off, because the minute you do that, that's when the hooks start to rust. So we'll set this to the side for now. Now the reason that I take and I cut this like this is because if you saw in the last one, when the manufacturer made these, they intended them to be used like this. And in my steelhead gear, that's how I put the jigs on, because there's these little slots in here. So I'll just push the jig in to that slot and the hook will sit in there. And the smaller ones fit really well on these, especially the 1/8 ounce. But on these rigs, I want to keep them as small as possible so they fit inside that box conveniently, but 4 or 5 of them is perfect for one trip for me usually. If we're only fishing with 3 people, then usually we don't go through more than 4 rigs, especially if we're getting bit. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, when I start out, there's no holes in the end, but I'm going to put a hole right here next to one of these slots. And I know you probably won't be able to see that slot on the camera. And again, this is for a new rig. And now I leave that hook sitting there, and then I run it up. So first, drop your rigging down here, and then I run it up into that next slot right there. So now the fishing line is sitting in that slot. Then back here to the next slot, and around, and then back around. And then we take the swivel and we dig it in to whichever one of these slots is appropriate. I'm usually running anywhere from 28 to 32 inches of leader. It depends. I like to wire them up at 32, and then I can take and cut off whatever I need depending on what the fish tell me when I'm fishing. But if you see that, look at how nice that is. Doesn't get around. Once you get it down, then you can just push that hook down just a little bit, and look at that. This is the way I like to store my rigs. Now, there's some questions that people always ask, and let's start with one of the simple ones is, will this kink my line? If you're using a really light line, it is possible, but here's the thing. If it's mono and you're gonna be casting with it, if you grab it out and pull it and then slide it to your fingers a couple of times, any of the little kind of memory that it has will pretty much go away. And the thinner line will have more effect. The thicker line like this one probably won't. This is 40 pound. And another thing to keep in mind is if you're trolling it, once you put it in the water, salmon gear like this, it's going to give you completely straight almost no matter what. So I wouldn't worry about that. Just make sure that when you put it on here, the line is in good condition, because you can't fix bad line. If you get bad line, throw it in the garbage. So the next question is, will this rust my hooks? Well, on these brand new hooks, they really don't rust. They're coated well, and they have the barbs on them. And as long as that's all intact, you won't have any problem with rust. The nice thing is this repels water. I believe it's a closed cell foam. I've never picked it up and have felt that it was waterlogged. It's just always felt like it was kind of light and would float in water. And I'm not going to throw it out in the water to test that, by the way, because that brings me to my next question. So these are relatively budget friendly. They're not very expensive, but they're not, cheap. You can buy pieces of foam that are cheap anywhere. However, these are very useful. They work really well. If you're going to put jigs in them, you don't even have to make any modifications. You just literally throw them in your box, which I have a bunch in my steelhead backpack outside. But I got to tell you, they're ready to be replaced because I've used them for years. And that's why I found some of these out in the garage, this one in particular, because this is the size that I use in my steelhead gear. So I think that the amount that this costs you, which is slightly more than making your own, is more than worth it. So that's an opinion you will have to judge on your own, but these just work better, especially for the line. For the jigs, some of the jigs I can do okay with using my own foam, but still, you take this out of the package, you put the jig in, and you're done. No prep work required. So check these out. I think if you do, you'll be really happy with them.